Microphone test. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Microphone test. Microphone test. Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Good evening. Welcome to the East Zone Community Meeting. This morning, or this evening, remember, as a reminder, we will be streaming this on the Plumas National Forest Facebook page, the Lassen National Forest Facebook page, as well as YouTube, and it will be linked into InsuWeb. To get started, we're going to have Eric Kurth with our instant meteorologist.
Good evening. I'm incident meteorologist Eric Kurth. Well, as you probably felt today, we had a big weather change. We have a Pacific storm system moving inland, and it brought quite a bit of wind. We had gusts to 30 to 40 miles an hour over much of the fire, and even higher up in the northeast part on the escarpment. We also had some lower humidity before things started to moisten up as we had a cold front approach late this afternoon and evening. And that cold front is moving through right now, and it's starting to bring us some light rain showers. And we're expecting those rain showers to continue and intensify overnight. And we could get some showers even through the early morning hours. Along with those showers, we'll still have some gusty southwest winds, but we'll also have the moistness. We'll have a lot of humidity tonight, so quite a cool, damp environment. Now tomorrow, that system will push out and we'll get a return to drier conditions probably by around noontime. It will be a cool morning, and we'll have some wind out of the southwest in the morning, and then we're expecting that stronger wind where we're getting gusts to 25 miles an hour up on the fire. Those winds will start to die off. We'll get a shift to northwesterly winds, maybe gusts to 15 miles an hour in the afternoon. So lighter winds from a different direction. And then tomorrow night, we actually get a shift to northeasterly. So I want to point out over here, we're getting that strong gust at 36 miles an hour. This will probably be in the early morning hours. And then we get those lighter northwest winds during the day. And then we shift to the northeast at night. And that continues into the day Monday. Monday is going to dawn a very cold morning. We'll probably have lows in the low to upper 30s. So it's going to be a real chilly day. Things are going to be clear overnight. So we'll have a lot of radiative cooling, we call it. It'll be a dry day. And we'll have those northeast winds, 21 miles an hour. Now, the direction is something different than we've seen. And this is a very minor northeast wind event. We typically get these in the fall time, and this just is a very strong one. And it'll also be relatively short-lived. It will go into Tuesday night, maybe early Tuesday morning, and then we shift back to southwest winds. And this is sort of our typical diurnal pattern where we get southwest winds in the afternoon, and we'll get gusts up to 15 miles an hour. So not very strong. We're getting into more benign pattern. Temperatures will start to warm up through the week, but they're not going to be as warm as what we were seeing. So you'll be able to feel that fall feeling in the air. It's going to be a lot more like we get late September than what we see in the summertime. And there's really not much change through the week. So it looks like a fairly quiet pattern. No more signs of precipitation in the immediate future. No big wind either. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much for that, Eric. We are very appreciated of the rain. Next up, we're going to have our fire behavior analyst, Patrick Doyle.
Thank you. Good evening, folks. So for today, we had pretty much, with a lot of the wind and the dry conditions that we had, a lot of the isolated smokes, you've seen them starting to pop up towards the end of this week. Here and there's been a little bit more frequency in these smokes popping up is because last Thursday, Friday, the 9th going into the 10th, we had a wetting rain then too. And it actually pushed everything down, increased the fuel moistures, suppressed a lot of the small smoldering smoke that we were seeing, and basically isolated it back to stump holes, logs, heavy dead down in some of those organic soils. For a day or two, we didn't see anything, but then we had this southwest warming trend that we've seen. You know, it's normal for here. And as the week went through and fuel moisture starting to dry out, solar, the sun shining on the fuels actually increases the fire activity as well with the solar radiation. We started seeing an increase in those smokes. And then we got the wind to support that too, those southwest winds. And they started increasing through the week. And then towards the last couple days, we've seen a significant amount of increase in these smokes. But one of the things we're doing too is we're also seeing some of those smokes disappear because they're either consuming because the fuels are so dry. We're really still at this extreme drought. Or they're near the lines and they're being suppressed and being put out. So with those two things working together, we knew these winds were coming today and with this front moving through. So a lot of the work was put in to suppress any activity near the line that would be a threat possibly. One thing too is some of those isolated areas that you're seeing, they're pretty well interior. They're not where it's an area that wasn't active before. And because it's dropping, today dropped with the wind, I mean, with the wind increase and the drop in fuel moistures, we really had an increase for that critical fire weather. So you saw that increase of smoke in the atmosphere from those. But with the precipitation coming in tonight, we're going to see the same drop that we saw between the 9th and the 10th. So tomorrow, you're probably going to see very minimal fire behavior, if any. What you might see is a couple of the heavy smokes or stump holes that still might be putting out some smoke. But as we dry into those kind of north winds on Monday, they're really not a threat to the line here because of how wet the fuels are going to be. But what it's going to do is it's going to help dry out some of those pockets of heat. And then you're going to start seeing the fuels dry out a little bit interior, some of those smokes starting to pop up more. And as we go into the next couple days of this week, you'll start seeing some of those pockets popping up again. But this is all within the containment lines. And that's pretty much I have for right now. I'm going to turn it back to Kristen.
Thank you so much for that, Patrick. That was a very thorough response. And next up, we're going to have a pre-recorded message from the West Side Operations, Kyle Smith.
Good afternoon. Kyle Smith, Operations Section Chief here on the west zone of the Dixie fire. So go around the afternoon operational update. So we'll start down here on the south end of the west zone, which is considered branch 18 and then branch 5. It also follows the Highway 36 corridor, also adjacent to Lake Almanor. This area is looking real good. They've been doing some extensive mop up, starting to do some suppression repair to take things back to a normal state. So that area is looking real good. Moving on over here to the west side in what we call Division Juliet, Division Kilo, Division Lima. It's also following Highway 36 and also Highway 89. It's also in the vicinity of Mill Creek. These areas are looking real good. They've been in patrol status for several days now. We've had no significant issues at all, but we still have resources on the ground patrolling that area, making sure we don't have anything that pops up, especially today with the high winds that we have this afternoon. So everything's looking real good. So as we continue on up into the Lassen National Park in Division November, there's a section here south of Highway 89 that we had some crews working in this area. And they're getting a real good handle on that. They should have all that tied in today, and we may even potentially tomorrow afternoon have that in patrol status. Moving on up into Division Oscar, around the Raker Peak area, we've had 2 hotshot crews working in there the last several days. They put in some direct line in some pretty snaggy hazard area in there, which was actually the old Reading fire scar. So they've done some extensive mop up in there. We've got it mopped up probably 100 feet in, maybe a little bit more in some places. That's looking real good. And tomorrow we're looking to put that in patrol status as well. There's been a lot of great work going on in that area. So moving on up into Division Papa, which is associated with the Old Station community. We placed that in patrol status. We still have resources in there patrolling that area, looking out for the community of Old Station, and just making sure we don't have any flare-ups or hot spots that show up, especially with today with all this wind we're having. Moving on up into Division Sierra, we're putting quite a bit of mop-out efforts in Division Sierra, trying to get all that secured, and there's places in there we've mopped up 100 to 200 feet in. It's looking real good. We've also brought up active military hand crews from the East Zone to help us out expedite this mop-up operation, not only in Division Sierra, but also over here in Division Uniform. So moving on to Division Uniform, also putting a lot of efforts in the mop-up operations to try to keep this from spotting out. Several days ago, we was having several spots a day that would get outside the line and create some issues. So for the past 2 days, we've not had any issues with spot fires. So with all that extensive mop-up, we're thinking and hoping we're going to be able to hold this wind event. This section here in Uniform is really going to be tested today with the wind that we're having right now. So moving on down south of Highway 44, still in Uniform, there's an area there that flared up on us a couple days ago. We got some dozer line and some hand line to tie that in direct, and we put a lot of effort in there with hose lays and mopping that up with hand crews. So looking real good in there as well. Moving on through Division Whiskey, which is here adjacent to Highway 44. That's looking real good. A lot of that's already patrol status. Though again, we've got resources in there keeping an eye on that, making sure we don't have any hot spots that flare up today, especially with the wind that we're having today. So this area right in here is still right here adjacent to Highway 44. It's also right there around the Bogart Rest area. So we was able to put some of these areas, additional areas, in patrol status yesterday afternoon, and we're working very diligently in there to keep mopping up, and so we can turn the rest of this area right here in patrol status. So moving on down into Zulu, this is looking real good. It's been in patrol status also for several days, and we have no issues, but we're also keeping resources in there and making sure that we do keep it in patrol status and take care of anything that may pop up. In report.
That was a very thorough response. Thank you. Our next speaker will be Carrie Gilliland, our operations.
Good evening, Carrie Gilliland, operations trainee for California Incident Management Team 1. I'm going to start where we've had a pretty significant amount of work. We had resources working from Indian Creek all the way up to Devil's Punch Bowl, trying to make sure that that portion of red continues to stay secured through the winds. Today, everything looked really good in there. As we continue out towards Grizzly Ridge, resources continue to patrol and mop up all along Grizzly Ridge. We've got roughly 300 feet of mop up. As we continue out towards Lake Davis, just past Turner Ridge, fire looks really good. We've had limited to no smokes in this area. Resources continue to patrol and mop up. As we continue out towards the eastern portion, towards Horton Ridge, as well as Dixie Mountain, resources continue to patrol and mop up. Right in this portion of Dixie Mountain is where we had some heavy timber that was burning on the ground. For the last 3-4 days, we've had some heli-tac crews as well as hand crews in there mopping that up. Everything along the Beckworth fire scar has stayed within the existing footprint all the way out to Highway 395. Everything along 395 continues to be patrolled and mopped up, coming all the way back to the Walker fire scar, where we've had no additional growth and no areas of concern. Everything within the Milford spot, all the way going back around to 395 towards Honey Lake, we continue to have resources patrolling and mopping up. As we progress up towards Fruit Growers, everything along here continues to be patrolled and mopped up. Resources continue to work down in down in Taylorsville, as well as Genesee Road. We did have several smokes within the Genesee Valley store that were called in today. They were well interior, no threat to the existing lines. Everything within Taylorsville, as well as Indian Valley, resources continue to patrol and mop up this area. We have had additional smoke checks within this portion. We've had resources respond to those, and they've been well interior, and they've mopped those up. As we continue out towards the Butterfly Valley Botanical Area, resources are continuing to patrol and mop up. We have started suppression repair throughout this area, as well as Bucks Lake and the PCT going all the way back towards Story. This little area is an interior pocket within the existing Chips fire scar. We did have increased activity in here several days ago, and the interior pocket of green vegetation that was burning is what increased the acreage of the incident. However, it's still within the existing fire footprint. We have had additional smokes throughout the community, Greenville, as well as stuff within Genesee Valley, and those areas will continue to smoke. We will have resources throughout the day and the evening to respond to those smokes. If there's any potential threat, we take care of that. However, a lot of those have been well interior, several miles, up to a mile. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Carrie. And as a reminder, if you do have questions, please use the chat function. We will continue to answer those questions through the evening, and contact us if you have any questions. Next up, we're going to have a pre-recorded message from our Forest Supervisor, Chris Carlton.
Good evening. I'm Chris Carlton, Forest Supervisor here on the Plumas National Forest. I'd like to start this evening's comments off recognizing a loss and asking for your support. Today, our neighbors to the north in the Lassen National Forest bid farewell to a member of their team. We lost a firefighter in the line of duty this season, and really want to express our condolences to our neighbors up to there on the north, family, friends, and communities of Marcus Pacheco. And I'm going to ask if we could just pause for a brief moment of silence. Thank you. A couple of updates here on the Plumas and Lassen. I know that the closure order expired a couple of days ago. The regional forester removed that closure across all of the forests. And since then, we've had a lot of questions about what remains open and available for people to go and visit. We recognize this is the beginning of hunting season, and a lot of people really want to be out there. A lot of us have been wanting to get back out in the forests for the last couple weeks. So the Plumas just reissued or issued an updated closure order, and we've had some questions about the map, and I'm just going to ask, that's posted on Facebook and it's on our InstaWeb page. We'll get it up on our web page as soon as possible Monday morning, but we really wanted to get that out as early as possible, and there was no way to get the web page updated until then, but we at least have those other locations, so please take a look there. Our intent here really is to make as much area available for people as possible. We recognize we've been closed out of some public lands for a while, and we want to get back out there. So please take a look there. If you have questions, ask them. We'll do our best to answer them. But really, take a look at those maps, refer to those maps. Our intention here is to make sure that we have closures around those areas where there are firefighters and first responders continuing to operate, to make sure that they've got the room to do what they need to do, while recognizing, our intent to get as much public access as possible. So please bear with us. We'll continue to evaluate. We're also going to continue to work with our neighbors on the Lassen as well to make sure that we adjust these closures as quickly and easily as possible to give you what we can to public land. So thank you, stay safe, and have a good evening.
So those other sites that he was talking about is the closure order will be available on both the Lassen and the Plumas National Forest Facebook pages. It's up on InstaWeb, and it's also available on the Dixie Fire story map. Another reminder that this will be recorded and posted on all of those channels, as well as our YouTube. Continue to ask those questions, and we'll work on those through the evening. For our closing comments tonight, we have Incident Commander Jerry McGowan.
Good Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry McGowan. I'm the Incident Commander of California Incident Management Team 1 and the East Zone Incident Commander. I'll give you a little bit of statistics here to start out. One, this fire's size is 963,301 acres with 88% containment. With that, there's the 2,264 firefighters here, with 934 of those being on the east side of this fire. We're sharing the fire with another team up in the north there, up in Susanville, and they are working as you saw earlier, their operations chief talking about some of what the status was on their west side. On the east side, you had that update. One of the things when we talk about sizes, and you might see some differences of those sizes, are interior islands that are burning together, and some of those statistics bring those fire sizes up. But so far, that perimeter has not changed all the way around this fire. The outside of this perimeter has not changed here in the last few days, so that's a good thing. Out of that 934 personnel that we have assigned here, we have 152 military, Army, that has been helping us quite a bit, actually, do the mop up and suppression repair that we've been working hard on. And when we talk about that suppression repair, we have about total, all the way around the circumference here, 1,604 miles of dozer line to repair. And with that, so far we have done 63 miles of that and completed, which is quite a big effort, really. I mean, you have to look at this, and you got to get it right to sustain any kind of water coming down there and try to mitigate as much as we can. Many of those, like the ops chief was talking about up there on the west side, is trying to put it back to a stable, at least, condition all the way around the fire. And that's quite a feat with that number. There's also a hand line. Remember those 20-person firefighters that have gone out here during the time of this fire and have cut hand line, and they cut a total of 91.9 miles of that. So basically 92 miles. So far we've repaired 5 miles of that. So there's still a lot of effort on this incident, and the magnitude, a lot of effort to still repair all this Dixie fire perimeter. With that requires a lot of cooperation, and when the cooperation has been high, and it covers, it ranges from the sheriff's department, the tribal community, PG&E, the county, Caltrans, and even some of the local people that are around here and within the community in the county of Plumas. So there's a lot of good work that has been going on. The crews are working hard. The spirits seem to be good. And with that, thank you very much, and thank you for cooperating and being a participant and part of this fire.
Thank you so much for that, Jerry. So as we close out, I do want to remind everybody our next community meeting will be Wednesday night at 7:30. And again, this will be recorded and will be posted on all of our social media accounts. Thank you, and have a good evening.